Every month, the paycheck comes in and then poof, it's gone. Mortgage, car payments, student loans. Oh yeah, and don't forget the groceries. They seem to cost more every single week as well. You're working harder than ever, but it seems like your money has a faster getaway car than you do. Here's the part nobody tells you about. You don't actually have to play by the bank's rules. I'm Chris, and I figured out how to flip the system so that you can pay off debt, build wealth at the same time, and take control of your money. Imagine a life where the money you put toward your debts actually comes back to you, where you build wealth through your own debts and expenses. That's what the infinite banking concept does. And once you see it, you'll never think about debt the same way. In this video, we're going to show you exactly how to do it using our proprietary software that's truly one of a kind. So let's dive in. You know, debt is one of those things that keeps people trapped. I know because I've been there. You feel like there's no way out. You feel like it's never going to end. It just keeps seeming to get worse and worse. You feel like you're working for nothing but the man. You're just working to pay off your debts. But what if there was a much easier way, like I mentioned earlier? And that's exactly what the Vault software is for. It's a one-of-a-kind, state-of-the-art, revolutionary software that will show you not just the mathematics behind your debt on how you can get out of debt in a fraction of the time, but how you can actually build wealth through your own debts and expenses. And that's exactly what Craig's going to show us today. He's going to give you a walkthrough of the Vault software. He's going to show you how this software will rearrange your financial life, your financial debt, and turn it around, pay it off, and also show you how you're building wealth with that debt. Craig, welcome, and show everybody a little bit about what you've created with this software.
Right, I'd be happy to. So you're looking at the main screen in the Vault, and when you log in, you'll be able to see a lot of different options that are available to you. You typically land in the dashboard. So for those of you that are familiar with infinite banking, this is really going to be the place where you can see the profile of your banking system. How much cash value do you have? How many policies do you have? How many loans do you have? But there's some other really cool things we've done with this, Chris, and imagine if you could ask Chris any question you want any time of day. We've taken over 1,000 of Chris's videos and books and put it into AI. So you have at your fingertips the availability to go ask Chris any question. How do loans work? What do you think about IULs, Chris? And so that's a key component of what we've been building, because you not only have to have the software to kind of direct you on what you're doing, but also be able to ask questions. For those of you that have infinite banking systems, you can load your policies into the system. You can manage those policies. You can take loans on those policies. So if you had major purchases. But with all that cool stuff said, Chris, what we're focusing on today is debt. People that are in debt need to tune into this portion of it, because what we're going to do is walk through the process that we call the debt blaster trifecta. And the important thing I want to mention here is we're going to meet you where you are. You may not be able to do the full, what we call debt blaster trifecta, but we're going to show you a process and a strategy of how to get there. So step one, we need to get all the debts classified and identified. So whatever debts you have, we want to put that in here. We're going to add a debt. We're going to put in our personal credit cards. We're going to put in our personal loans, our medical debt, car loans. It doesn't matter what they are. We just want you to put in your debts, name them, put in the balance, the interest rate, and the payments. Once we've done that, we can look at our debts and say, all right, what do we have? What's staring us in the face? We have about $78,000 of total debt. We're paying about $1,265 in payments. Your profile could be completely different. Maybe you have more credit cards, maybe you have less, but the idea is we want to get that classified. Now, I want to talk about a few strategies, Chris. Have you heard of the no strategy I've talked about?
All the time. Yep. It's people doing exactly what they're doing, wondering why they can't find their way out.
All right. And sometimes we're shifting balances over to lower interest cards, which is great because it does eliminate some of the interest, but we don't really make a lot of progress. Or we'll refinance, or when we get a bonus, say we get $1,000 bonus from work, we'll just throw it at one of the debts. So there's not a structure, there's not a plan, there's not a step-by-step approach. And so what I'm going to share with you is step number one, which is let's get our debts classified and into an efficient order. So Chris, I'm going to scroll down to what we call the payoff strategy. So if you were to take all those debts and do the no strategy, which is just kind of throwing money at your debts, not really having a plan, all of those debts will be paid off in 181 months. And in that 181 month time frame, on that $78,000 of debt, you'll pay over 30,000 on top of that in just interest. So when I share this with most people, they look at that and go, well, I certainly don't want to do that. What else do you have for me? Now, a lot of people have heard about debt snowball, which is a methodology with you would organize your debts lowest balance to highest balance. What's the benefit of the snowball? Well, it gives you that psychological effect of being able to pay off those lower balance debts faster, and it gives you some momentum there. There's also another one called debt avalanche, and it structures all of your debts by highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. That's typically the most mathematically efficient in terms of paying the least amount of interest to others. And then there's also the cash flow index, which looks at your debt ratio of balance to payment and tries to determine where your least efficient debts and structure your debts in that manner. Now, at the end of the day, you can do either one of these because they're better than the no strategy. You'll see they're all about 80 months, 81 months, 80 months. But look down here at the interest. Why we're highlighting the debt avalanche is that is the most efficient for this particular debt profile. Snowball could be it, or cash flow index. So this is really step one. This is how to build efficiency into your debts.
But Craig, one thing too with this is I think a lot of people would struggle just to figure this out because it is a mathematical calculation to put this in order. And also, just with one click of the button, it shows you exactly what the most mathematically sound way to pay off all your debt is, and without doing anything else, because this is meeting people where they're at. Some people, this is where they're at. They've got a whole bunch of debt. They have no money to pay their debt down, but they just want to be out of the mess. So if that was the only thing that they did and they didn't want to use the infinite banking concept and they didn't want to use velocity banking, could they use the Vault software just as it is where they are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you use this as your step one plan, what we want to do is start freeing up some of those debts. So let's go back up to the payoff table or the debt table. What we're going to do is focus on this personal credit card first, and we're going to throw all resources we have. We're going to pay minimums on every debt, but if we get a bonus or if we have more money, we're going to throw it at this personal credit card. When that's paid off, we'll take that $75 and we'll add it on to the business credit card. And then when those two are gone, we'll add those on to the personal loan. And we'll just keep doing that. Now, at some point, you're going to free up some cash flow. And there's some other options we're going to share in this video with you on what you might be able to do with that. But there is one other important thing I want to say, Chris, is let's say that you took a personal loan from your brother-in-law. And you know, Thanksgiving, it's around the corner. It's going to be here before we know it. Who wants to be sitting across the Thanksgiving table staring at their brother-in-law who you owe money to? So you might say, you know what, even though mathematically that may not be the most efficient, I want to get this personal loan out of my life. I'm gonna get that out of here because I want to get my brother-in-law paid off. What does that do? It shows us that we now have a custom strategy, and it's just going to show you that you add another month, you might add a little more interest, but at the end of the day, there's some non-mathematical reasons why you want to pay a certain debt off before another. The power is in your fingertips. You can structure those debts however you want, and we'll show you with a click of a button what the impacts are of rearranging those debts.
Well, let's just now say that somebody has either an old, life insurance policy that has some cash value in it, and maybe they're thinking, hey, could I use that to pay this off? Maybe they've got equity sitting in their house and they don't know how to use the equity. And maybe they just have a little extra money that they can save every single month. And they want to find out, okay, would it be better for me to take that extra every month and dump it out of the debts? Or should I look into this infinite banking concepts thing?
let's take that and run with it. So let's say that you are saving $1,000 a month. Maybe you're saving $500 a month. The amount isn't necessarily what's important for what we're sharing today is, but what we're going to talk about is you could take that $500 a month your savings or that $1,000 a month your savings and throw it right at your debt. Or you could leave it in your savings account where you're saving it. Or you could use the infinite banking concept process where we start to fund our policy every month and we're going to start building up cash value. Here's the key. Let's say that every month we're putting $1,000 into a policy, and then every quarter we're going to take a loan from our policy. And what we're going to do with that loan is we're going to throw it at the debt that's at the top of the list. So we're going to accelerate paying off those debts using our policy. So here's how this works. We're going to activate the CV boost. We're going to activate using the cash value towards our debts. And so if we go back down to our payoff strategy, we now see that all of our third-party debts are done in 44 months. We'll spend the next 32 months making that exact same debt payment of 1265 back to our policy. So we're done paying our debts off in 76 months, which is still better than 181 and a little bit better than just doing debt avalanche alone. But here's the key, Chris. At the end of that debt cycle, we've built wealth because we now have over $73,000 of cash value in our policies that we can use for wealth building. We also are protected by a death benefit of $323,000.
So worst case scenario, let's just say the person who sets up this plan, let's say they had an accident and they went, to the bigger place in the sky, they went to heaven and they were no longer here. The death benefit would self-complete the debt payoff plan for the family. So the family literally would not have any debt left, plus probably a whole bunch of extra money that they could use to support their lifestyle.
Those are great points. I mean, it's definitely there's a lot of value on the legacy and the protection, income protection side, but there's also at the end of this debt cycle, the wealth building of having 70 some thousand dollars, plus you freed up that 1265 that's available for wealth building.
So the way I look at it with the infinite banking concept, number one, you pay off your debt even faster than you would using debt avalanche, cash flow index, or the no strategy. Plus you've got a whole bunch of cash value, which is money that you wouldn't have had in any of the prior ones. And as a bonus, you've got the death benefit in case something should happen. So it kind of seems to me it's a no-brainer. As long as you got the extra money you can put into the policy, that definitely seems like the winner.
Now, there's one more element here, Chris. A lot of folks that we work with also do velocity banking. And this is where it gets really exciting because here's the way I look at it. Debt avalanche helps us become efficient. Infinite banking helps us build wealth. How do we add that last element of speed into our debt paydown strategy? That's what we do with velocity banking. Now, these numbers may not be your exact numbers, but we have a client here or a profile where the person's earning about $7,200 in monthly income. They've gone through and they've listed out their household expenses. They've listed out their living expenses. They've listed out velocity banking tools. Maybe they have a HELOC. Maybe they have a line of credit. So with velocity banking, what we're trying to do is take the net cash flow and use that as part of our debt pay down. So we're putting all of our income into our velocity banking tool. We're paying our expenses out of it. And what we're leaving in there is our net cash flow. And here's the fun part about it. We're going to build that velocity banking tool up, take chunks of money and throw it at our debts. And then we're going to recapture that money back into our velocity banking tool, take a chunk and throw it at our debts.
So in other words, Craig, on top of everything you said, this would be if somebody had, maybe they got equity in their house, right? Which most people do. If most people own a house right now, they're sitting in a pretty good place from an equity standpoint because houses have appreciated. Or maybe they've got one of those personal lines of credit that they haven't really tapped into or used. It's just for emergencies. Those are what we're referring to here for velocity banking.
Now, here's the fun part about this velocity banking is we're not asking you to go out and get a job and make more money. We're not asking you to do anything different than just take the money that's coming into your personal economy, running it through this tool that we're basically flipping the script and using a tool from the bank to help us be more efficient with our debts. But we're leveraging our net cash flow. So this takes some discipline. Let's go ahead and apply this velocity banking structure to our debts along with all of the other things we've done. So now what we're looking at in the payoff structure is debt avalanche, which is our efficiency, infinite banking, which is our wealth building, velocity banking, which is our speed. And when we bring them all together in this last column, that's what we call the debt blaster trifecta. In 27 months, using avalanche, infinite banking, and velocity banking, all of our debts are gone. We spend the next 18 months paying back our policy loans. We take the next 2 months to pay back our velocity banking tool. So in 47 months, we're done with our debts. We've been efficient, we built wealth, and we have speed. We have $41,000 approximately of cash value in our policy, and we're still protected, Chris, just like you had mentioned. If something happens to us, God forbid, during this debt pay down cycle, we still have $274,000 our family has to get out of debt.
Now, two things just to bring it up for compliance is, number one, every person is going to have a different outcome because of age, health, and lots of other factors. So the amount of cash value they will have and the amount of death benefit will vary case by case. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. This is just an example that we have built into this software for this presentation.
And Chris, there's one more thing I wanted to share with our group today, with our audience, is you might be looking at this and going, well, that's a lot of tools. It's a lot of money flying around. How in the world do I even manage this?
Well, I don't know, man. When I got to get somewhere in my car, I'm not real good with maps. So I just punch in coordinates into the GPS and it tells me exactly how to get to where I'm going. Does the vault have something like a GPS?
Here's your GPS, Chris. So the way this works is you have your infinite banking system in the purple. You have your velocity banking system in the blue, and you have all of your debts on the right-hand side of that. And so what we're going to do is every month, so here we are, August, let's say we're in August 2025 or September 2025, we're going to determine how much do we take out of our velocity bank or our infinite banking system. Well, this month, none. Next month, we're going to take out $2,000, and then we just show where that money gets distributed in terms of which debts. Now up in the blue, you'll see there's this 14,587. That's a chunk of money that we're taking out of our velocity banking tool, and we're going to apply that across our debts. And so this is just your financial GPS of telling you which tool am I taking money out of and how does it get distributed across my debts. And as long as you follow this and you go through, month one's done, gets checked off. Month two's done, it gets checked off, and it just helps you stay on track. Now, at the end of the day, we know that you might get a bonus, or maybe you fell behind, or maybe you've got another debt. What do? You just go back up to the debt system, add a new debt if you picked up a new debt, or maybe you collapsed one. Maybe the balance went up on one, and you just recalculate. Just like, Chris, when you miss a turn, you miss that street, what's your GPS going to do?
Recalculate.
So at the end of the day, we're helping, what we're doing with the software is we're helping you identify your debts, classify those so that you can go through and be efficient. And then if you have some cash flow, you can get in infinite banking to build wealth while you're still paying off your debts. And then layering on that velocity banking, if you have equity in your house or if you have a personal line of credit. And that's where we bring this debt blaster trifecta idea to life, where you're building efficiency, wealth, and speed, and getting out of debt so that you can take the next step. Because the last thing we want to do, Chris, is just leave people at zero, meaning the debt's all gone. Now they're sitting there with a bank account. Like, what do I do now? We want to get into wealth building. That's our next step.
I love it.
So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and wrap us up and just kind of let us know where we go from here?
Yeah, so basically everybody saw exactly how the vault works, how it can help you get out of debt in a lot less time than what the no strategy would. And that's what most people do. They don't have a strategy for getting out of debt, but they certainly are feeling the pain. And if that happens to be any of you, this tool, this software right here, as you just saw, will help you. Now, infinite banking will help you make it even faster. Velocity banking will help it even go faster than that. What we're just looking at is we're looking at all available resources that you have without working harder, longer, or taking on any risk. And one of the other things I absolutely love about this is how the GPS part, it's not like a car GPS, but you saw Craig use it, where it tells you exactly how much to pay to what debts every single month. And if something goes awry or you need to change something, you just go in and recalculate your figures. It can't be any simpler than that. Folks, if any of you are interested in looking at the vault, testing it out, just go to BYOBvault.com. We'll put it right in the description and start a trial. Start using the Debt Blaster. And if you love it, well, pick yourself up a membership and get going with it. Craig, I think that's pretty much all we've got with this. Folks, thank you so very much. And hopefully we'll see you on the inside of the vault. That's how the infinite banking concept flips debt on its head. Instead of you losing money, you actually turn it around. You don't have to stay stuck making the banks rich. You could be rich if you took back control. If you like this video, you're gonna wanna check this one out, The Secrets of the Wealthy. I think you'll enjoy it. And by the way, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. This is literally the next generation of financial freedom. Thanks for being on the journey.